Alright, what's up guys? So we're gonna go talk about the Titanic Theory, which has been something I learned years ago. And a lot of times when people are working, they confuse themselves with what it looks like to actually think about personal stuff, professional stuff. So the Titanic Theory is a system that you use to compartmentalize and how to really separate. And I remember using the Titanic Theory and the symbol of a boat referencing the Titanic movie because of how visual it is. So what I like to do, and I explain this to people, is you want to separate your day into three main areas. So for our day, okay, we work in sales right now, and it can apply to any industry. We have our morning piece, which is people getting ready at the house and coming to work. We have a morning piece of work that we're not necessarily selling or engaging customers yet. Then we have our work piece, which is the field, engaging customers. And then we finish that and we move into our PM. So again, going back home and kind of disconnecting from the day and stuff like that. So the way you want to think about this is, hey, how do you make sure your personal stuff does not interfere with your professional stuff in a negative way? But it could be in a positive way. So thank you guys for listening again. This is another unlocked episode. If you want to help us through sharing, subscribing, or sharing this with somebody in the office or somebody at a different team would really help us out. Okay, so we're going to talk about this. The thing about how many negatives, you want to fill the boat out with stuff that could be negatives, things that could be water on the boat, okay? So if you think about stuff that can happen in the morning, think about yourself or even people on your team or people you've hired in the past. What are some things in the morning that can happen that can affect their day? So it could be traffic in the morning that kind of negs people out a little bit, or it could be some car issue, right? How many people you know that they had a car problem that made them come to work late? Maybe they're tired, or maybe something personal going on, or something with their family. The thing about it is, when you let this water, think about it as a compartment of the boat, okay? If I let this piece of my day, which happens to all of us, everybody could get, maybe there's also a coffee stain that as soon as you're ready to get out the door, you got to change again. Everybody's had that, right? If I let this is like water getting inside of my boat. Is it normal for water to get inside of a boat? Yes. What I don't want to do is I don't want to let that trickle into my workday. So what do? Is I want to close the compartment. I want to close this door and I want to shut it. I almost want to have like a conversation with myself is, hey, look, I'm not going to let these 5 bad minutes or these 20 minutes or this argument with my spouse or this argument with whatever, I am not, or maybe this phone call I got from a bill that's unpaid, I'm not going to let it affect my workday because there's nothing positive with that. So now you move into your workday. Think about all the things that could go bad at work. So for us, we engage with lots of customers, 30, 40, 50 customers a day. So there's lots of rejection, people that are rude. You ever worked in customer service and people that are completely rude? They get into they absolutely make no sense sometimes, when you work with customers, but they're always right. Maybe your energy's a little lower. Maybe you have language barriers. Maybe you're not getting to the money that you need to make. Maybe you're not in an area that's helping you out. Maybe whatever excuse you want to make, okay? You don't want your work to trickle. Again, you don't want that water that comes into this part of the boat. Think about all these negatives as water in the boat. It's okay to have some water in the boat, but if you let it sink, the problem is that if it goes into all areas of the boat, what happens is the boat will sink. So you want to look at the boat as yourself. You want to look at the water as all of these negatives. Now, am I able to use the boat and navigate without the water? No. Meaning, am I able to go through my day without the negatives? No. And that's really the point of the Titanic Theory, is not learning to eliminate negatives because you can't, is learning to compartmentalize and shut the door, so that my negatives of one part of my day do not trickle into the other parts of my day, aka the other compartments of the boat, so I do not ruin my day for one part of my day that was wrong. Hopefully that makes sense. Maybe it's the morning, maybe it's the night that leaks into the morning, and the water that comes in from the negatives at night leaks into the morning. You might have had a great day, but then you go home and you're tired. Or then you go home and you have your car problem, or your family is bad, or something with work is going on, your dog is sick, you have chores to do that you forgot, you have maybe kids that are sick or tired, or they need more attention that night. Maybe there's some other negatives, so just overall stuff, okay? If I already come from a negative work environment or a negative day at work, I let that trickle into my PM, then this is gonna be a mess. But if I was able to do a good job, and I let, like, the problem with this is that if I don't shut it off at night before I go to bed, this water that enters the boat because of all these negatives, it can leak into my morning. Think about how many times you've seen people come into the morning to where they're still carrying their negatives from the day before. People come into work and they're still thinking about, oh my gosh, yesterday was such a bad day. Oh my gosh, yesterday that customer was so rude. Oh my gosh. And again, it's because they were not able to compartmentalize. They were not able to rationalize their mistake. And so, by the way, let's think about how fair is it, right? How fair is it for your family and spouse that if you had a bad day at work, you pour all of that into them? And here's how you know. If somebody has like a person at the house, maybe family, spouse, friends, that is very negative about your work, think about it. Where did they get that from? Where did your spouse, parent, friend, coworker, roommate, where did they get the information to be negative? They only probably got it from you. So that means you're not doing a good enough job at compartmentalizing and closing this door. It's okay to do it in a positive way, but even there, it is not fair for this part of my day to suffer all of the negatives from here or there. It is also not fair for my work. It's not fair for my customers for them to have a bad experience with me because I was not able to compartmentalize. I was not able to have a bad fight. I allowed bad 20 minutes, a bad morning to ruin my entire day. And again, keyword is allowed, because you are in control of your emotions and what affects you. And so the theory of the Titanic Theory really speaks about compartmentalizing and learning as your career develops how to not eliminate negatives, because that would be like a boat trying to eliminate water. It wouldn't work. It's more how to navigate negatives, how to recognize them and acknowledge, I am tired. I'm not going to let that affect my work. I'm going to drink a coffee. I'm going to, wake up, and I'm going to, have like a little pep talk, self-talk in the car before I get out and start my work day. And I'm going to make sure it doesn't affect. Same thing when I'm having a negative day at work. I'm going to pause myself at the door before I come into my house, to my family, and say, hey, my family deserves the best of me. They don't deserve the scraps of what's left after I had a terrible day. And the same for my morning peeps. I don't want my morning family or my work family to get affected because I had a bad day yesterday. And I remember thinking about this, and it's tough. I remember thinking about this when I was going through it, because again, especially in the world of sales, the negatives are consistent and the negatives are flowing daily. So your first instinct, it's to eliminate. But again, a boat cannot eliminate water. As a matter of fact, the boat wouldn't work and the boat wouldn't move if it wasn't for the water. So learning how to be more fluid to change and how to receive challenges in a way that I receive it, but it bounces off of me versus me keeping and holding on to them like a grudge was difficult. Although it was the only way that I was able to kind of move along into my career. Again, not eliminating negatives, but thinking about how do I move past them? How do I receive them and bounce them off in a quick way? And how am I able to have these little talks during the day that I am not going to, and again, it's out of fairness for the rest of the day. I should not let my family pay the price of my bad day. I should not let my work pay the price of my bad morning. I should not let my customers pay the price of my bad afternoon. And so hopefully that helps, guys. This is Titanic Theory. What I would encourage you to do is make a list of all the negative stuff that happens to you in the morning or that happens in general. Make a list of negative stuff that bothers you during work and at night, and acknowledge it and learn how to receive and learn how to deal, learn how to bounce them off so that you don't have to let other parts of your day be affected, and you don't want to have a bad day just because you let a bad 20 minutes ruin it. So hopefully that helps, and we'll see you at the next one.